Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Hawkeye Episode 1, which gives us fresh perspectives of the Avengers' history, a child's view of the Battle of New York, an evil rich person's view of Avengers Endgame, and all of it in the Broadway footlights. Never have I been more delighted to accurately predict something. In this case, what catchphrase would be the showstopper? I can do this all day. I can do this all day. And I can do this all day. Break down the first episode of Hawkeye shot by shot for all the MCU connections, visual clues, and Easter eggs that you might have missed. And a reminder that you can get your hands on our new limited edition merch design inspired by Hawkeye at newrockstarsmerch.com. Getting this latest obsession will give you the added bonus of writing in a custom shout out for our Hawkeye Inside Marvel after shows. Okay, so the opening Marvel Studios title card has been updated from past Marvel titles to include a shot of Natasha and Yelena from Black Widow on the V, and on the M, before Shang-Chi harnesses the 10 rings, Hawkeye's mid-air twist from the 2012 Avengers, the move we are about to see, but from a new angle in this episode. We opened in New York in 2012 as the Battle of New York begins, making Hawkeye the 5th live-action MCU title to depict this battle after Avengers, Spider-Man Homecoming, Avengers Endgame, and the Loki prologue. They love coming back to this day, and depending on your interpretation of the MCU's timeline logic, there may be alternate Caps and Tonys snooping around in the alley below this building. But you'll notice the city is at peace at this moment, and we only see the first Chitauri fly past the window a little over 3 minutes in, at which point director Rhys Thomas shoots the chaos in one continuous unbroken shot, lasting about 2 minutes from there until Kate sees the Stark Tower through the collapsed wall and Hawkeye's same badass jump from the 2012 film that we saw from his perspective then. This pose of Hawkeye falling backwards, aiming the arrow back upward, was the opening panel of the 2012-2013 Matt Fraction David Aha Hawkeye comic that this series is based on. But now we see it from the perspective of the future Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, as this series is adapting that storyline to be. But it's interesting how time has been condensed for this show, because in the 2012 film, this battle spans from start to finish, from the moment that Chitauri arrives, about 19 and a half minutes of screen time as we cut around among the various perspectives of the participants of this battle, from the first wave of Chitauri to Clint's jump. But here, from the perspective of one little girl, that same chaos unfolds in less than 2 minutes, all pretty much in real time from her perspective. Now, you could point to this interesting detail with Stark Tower, where there's only the missing R at this point in the battle, whereas in the 2012 film, the first letters broken off were really the K and only part of the R when Loki and Thor fought. And you could look at that and say, maybe they're just taking liberties with the continuity of the battle, or maybe this is an alternate timeline. Really, I just think this is more realistically how fast the devastation would feel to New Yorkers fleeing in fear. To the Avengers, they were slow motion kicking ass for what felt like half an hour. But for everyone else, they had just minutes to run for their lives. Just an interesting way how time moves differently for the Avengers, or as Steve Rogers lamented in Endgame,
you know, I keep telling everybody they should move on and grow. Some do, but not us.
Now, in this bedroom are a bunch of trophies and medals, but are these Kate's, making her a prodigy overachiever, or are they someone else's? Because there is a framed photo of a woman doing a handstand on a ledge, presumably Kate's mother Eleanor, someone who is definitely more agile than she lets on, and is the kind of parent who would pressure her daughter to be an overachiever. But here, Kate's just an animal lover with a toy pet vet truck, foreshadowing her caring for the welfare of the most amazing pizza dog. Kate's parents, Eleanor and Derek, argue,
we have to sell the penthouse.
No, we don't. That's...
What, an actual solution? You know, maybe growing up in this place, you got used to the idea that a solution would just fall out of the sky, but it won't, Derek.
So in the comics, Erik Bishop comes from a wealthy Manhattanite family, and it's Eleanor who supposedly died, disappearing mysteriously while on a trip to Colorado, and Derek being implicated in her death. But this series reverses it so that it seems like Derek dies, but notice we do not see that death, and he and Eleanor were in some kind of shady financial situation, a situation that miraculously evaporates after Derek's death. And then Eleanor's wealth only seems to grow. So it looks like a solution did fall out of the sky, a Chitauri wormhole in the sky, providing a convenient cover story for Eleanor to get her husband out of her life. And notice how Eleanor responds,
"Do you wanna?"
Who are we kidding? You go.
Ouch. This tells us that A, Kate prefers her father as a parent, and they all know that, and B, Eleanor doesn't really want her own daughter. It's also tragically sweet how Derek first asks Kate,
How much did you hear?
As if he was worried Kate overheard Eleanor's response to that question. And then after giving her some classic hero advice, he leaves.
Think fast.
I'll be downstairs in my office.
And later, Eleanor tells Kate to go set up checkers, saying,
Okay, I'm gonna go downstairs. I'll be right back.
Okay.
huh, so what happened downstairs, Eleanor? And if she was able to somehow premeditate this, it would mean she would have to know a Chitauri invasion was imminent to cover whatever she was gonna do. She a sorceress, Hydra operative, extraterrestrial, or just a very lucky, opportunistic murderer. Eleanor catapults food up into her mouth, both showing her own physical feats, but also foreshadowing the same kind of fulcrum trick Kate will use with the wine bottle later. A hole was blown out of the side of the Bishop home, and Chitauri charge Kate before Hawkeye's arrow takes him out. But since this shot came from behind, Kate would have no way of knowing who saved her here. Really, her first glimpse of Hawkeye is through the smoke on that adjacent rooftop. Clint's fight choreography exactly mirrors his moves in the 2012 film. He arrows one Chitauri and then kicks another off the building, but Kate's point of view leaves out the insert in Avengers of Clint reaching back to find his quiver empty, showing how in Kate's eyes, Hawkeye is more of a flawless badass than he actually is in real life. Similarly, she sees his fall in slow motion with awesome Avengers-y music as his arrow slings back up out of frame. When really in the 2012 film, this was more of an all is lost beat for all the Avengers that ended with Hawkeye in pain, unable to get up. And you'll notice when Kate asks what happened to Daddy, Eleanor does not answer.
Is Daddy okay?
Then at Derek's funeral, Kate asks,
What if they come back?
They won't come back
How do you know?
because the heroes showed them what would happen.
Eleanor was wrong, and Kate was right to ask. The alien threat on the other side of that wormhole did totally come back and incur the worst possible fate, precisely because the Avengers upped the ante. And you'll notice behind Kate is the headstone of Derek's relative, Russell Bishop, signaling that Derek's family history and his family wealth could be something we explore further. And we get this great opening animation showing Eleanor giving Kate her bow and arrow that she asked for, but then overseeing her archery lessons, which at first don't hit the bullseye, but as the seasons progress forward, Kate gets older and more confident and has more success. A third place medal on the bear. Avengers Tower is briefly visible in the skyline behind Eleanor. Second place pedestal. Martial arts classes where she begins as a yellow belt but then nurses wounds after a loss. Fencing where she arrogantly lets her guard down and gets poked, but then she wisens up and fights back, and when she hits them it creates a circular target logo like the logo of this show. Then martial arts classes where she's a black belt and wins, leading to a series of trophies in everything including gymnastics. And despite this collection, you'll notice the framed photo of Derek remains visible at the center of all of it. Then you get this great triple arrow shot, all of them bullseyeing, as we have seen Clint Barton do, as well as Li Shang in Mulan, making a man out of us. So Kate Bishop is now 22, played by Haley Steinfeld. She vandalizes Stain Tower, a nod to Obadiah Stane, Tony Stark's villain in the first Iron Man, and she collapses his tower into a pile of scraps. She's got a friend named Greer. There is a Greer Nelson, aka Greer Grant, who becomes the Marvel vigilante The Cat, later mutated into Tigra, but I don't know if that's who this is. But hey, it's Christmas time in New York, and being staged on Broadway is Rogers the Musical. It's got a black on yellow design with the star in silhouette, a clear nod to Hamilton. The showrunner on the show straight up admitted that this was inspired directly by Hamilton.
We would drive by a Hamilton billboard every morning on the way to the writer's room, and one morning I just thought, Rogers the Musical. This theater is the Lunt Fontanne Theater on West 46, which is just down the block from the Richard Rogers Theater where Hamilton plays on Broadway. The tagline of the show is, "It captures the heart of a hero." And you can see all the signs of critics raving, "A timeless story of a timeless hero. A superpowered sensation. A musical as triumphant as the heroes it brings to life. A soaring, smashing, flying, fighting musical triumph." And I just love how this really brings Steve Rogers as a character full circle with his musical theater origins, selling war bonds on tour as the Star-Spangled Man with a plan. This musical number restages the Battle of New York. You can see broken buildings, Chitauris flying through it all, but instead with the glitz and glamour, which contrasted the really dark perspective we saw in the prologue. This amazing song is I Could Do This All Day. Of course, Cap's recurring catchphrase from throughout the MCU.
I can do this all day. 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 Yeah, I know.
Now notice that suited New Yorker who has the first solo that we see.
Things look dark, but I know this
That's actually a cameo by Broadway great Adam Pascal, aka Roger from Rent. Clint Barton, again played by Jeremy Renner, watches unimpressed with his kids Cooper, Lila, and Nate, with Ben Sakamoto, Ava Russo, that's Joe Russo's daughter, and Cade Woodward all returning from Endgame. I just love the mixed reactions from all the extras in the background. One woman like, this is great, while an older woman right behind Clint has a kind of panic attack like, that's not how it was. That's not how it was. We also have reason to believe that Marvel head Kevin Feige may have been in attendance for this performance, though I couldn't find him anywhere in the crowd. Yeah, the level of detail they put into these shows is pretty impressive, but you know what's more impressive? Getting someone that perfect holiday gift. And this season, a great gift to give someone is a gift of a title from Established Titles, while referring to them as a lord or lady. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. They let people buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land so that they can call themselves a lord or lady, and in return, Established Titles commits to planting a tree. It's just a fun way to help preserve the beautiful woodlands and biodiversity of Scotland while raising funds to support global conservation efforts. Established Titles work with global charity Trees for the Future and One Tree Planted to help them plant a tree for every order. Plus, for those with Scottish heritage, it's just a great way to connect to your family roots. So here's what came with my Established title. Your title packs give you a numbered plot of dedicated land on a private estate in Ardally, Aberdeenshire in Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest. You can get a couple title pack for you and your significant other, so you can go to the Ren Fair or go LARPing in Central Park with your head held high together. So go to establishedtitles.com/NRS and get 10% off any orders. That's establishedtitles.com/NRS, or click the link in the description. Iron Man does the same flight pose that Iron Man usually does. Thor wears a shirt with Norse runes on it, and his Mjolnir prop looks like it's the same exact Mjolnir from the films. Natasha appears, her top forms the red hourglass logo of Black Widow, and all the sound fades away. Clint clearly still haunted from losing Natasha on Vormir in Endgame, making it even sadder when a little girl cosplaying as Natasha waves at him. This just sets up Clint's arc in this episode, feeling super triggered and discomforted by seeing a younger generation dressing up and pretending to be him and all of his Avenger friends. But really, the reason of the silence is that Clint just turned off his hearing aid, a hearing aid being another detail from the Fraction Aha comics in order to show Clint Barton's wear and tear. As we learn in episode 2, this is the result of all the booms that Clint suffered in past MCU battles. Clint correctly points out that Ant-Man was not there for the Battle of New York. The actor wears a Pimtech logo shirt, and we actually chatted with this Broadway performer, Nico De Jesus, for this week's Rogue Theory. He gave us a ton of details of how this all came together, and now I am dying to see Rogers the Musical in its entirety on Disney+. Or just take this show on tour. I'm dying to see it. When the song gets to its bridge, the Avengers rally together and divvy up their roles for the battle, just like the moment Cap actually handed out orders in the 2012 film.
It's Hulk, you know the magic words. Smash! Smash! Smash!
And Hulk. Smash.
We also hear that Tony Stark suggests getting shawarma.
Let's get shawarma when we're done.
This whole musical is very similar to the Smithsonian Cap exhibit, or the way the Statue of Liberty is being redesigned with Cap's shield in No Way Home. It just seems like there's this new interest in mythologizing the Avengers legend throughout pop culture in this world. As Clint gets up to leave, he does pass an old man who starts to turn his head. This almost looks like Armand Duquesne, the guy we meet later, though I'm not sure if this is him. In the bathroom, the urinal is tagged with Thanos was right. Just another reflection of the cultural effects of Infinity War and Endgame on this world, and a lot like our social media takes that argued Thanos did nothing wrong. I love how Clint hilariously considers it for a second. Now, the statue above Grand Central Terminal is once again that first responder statue that was added after the Battle of New York. We saw that in Age of Ultron, but we also get the tiniest peek at the building behind it. That was formerly Avengers Tower that was since sold off and last seen in Far From Home with an atrium constructed into it under new ownership. This whole building transition does get referenced in episode 2. Still no word who the new occupants are. I'm thinking it's gonna be the Baxter building in the Fantastic Four. Kate passes an electronic Rogers the Musical ad showing outlines of all 6 Avengers, though Hawkeye is the smallest and in the background, though still not as small as Green Goblin on the No Way Home poster. Eleanor tells her daughter,
I know that young people think they're invincible and rich people think they're invincible, and you have always been both, so take it from someone who hasn't. you're not. You will get hurt.
Yeah, just a little hint to Eleanor's past. Someone who has been hurt before and was not always rich. Sounds like she might have married into the Bishop family with a new appreciation for wealth and what it can do. Kate notices all the new swords now adorning the home, obviously from Jack's new presence in Eleanor's life. In the comics, Jacques Duquesne is the swordman, a mentor to Hawkeye, a recurring face in the Avengers comics. Though the fact that this is her home shows that Eleanor herself might have a personal experience in swordsmanship. In the restaurant where the Bartons eat, there's a beckoning cat figurine, just like the one that got on Bucky's nerves in the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Then at the fundraiser, Jack's uncle Armand Duquesne introduces himself to Kate. Kate remembers going to brunches at his brownstone, suggesting that the Bishops and the Duquesnes might go way back. Now in the comics, Armand was Jacques' father, who bequeathed his son a sword on his 18th birthday, telling him about their ancestor Rene Duquesne, aka the Crimson Cavalier. But Armand expresses concerns about Eleanor and Jack's engagement.
Seems like you won the jackpot.
You think so? So does he. I'm not so sure.
And stressed out about her mom's engagement, Kate heads outside where she sees that one-eyed dog that she later saves and gives pizza. In the comics, this is Lucky the pizza dog, who was actually renamed Lucky by Clint, but so far not given a name on the show. I will say it's a little weird that this dog finds Kate first, like it might be smarter than we think, as all dogs are. I mean, who rescues who, really? Kate overhears Armand and Eleanor arguing.
Try that on me. I gave you an opportunity to explain this. I've got powerful friends too.
Powerful friends that both Armand and Eleanor have. Of course, there are all kinds of shady power players in the MCU presently, from Val to power broker Sharon Carter to Xialing in the Ten Rings, to of course figures we hope to see soon, Wilson Fisk, Kingpin. I'm thinking the opportunity that Armand gave Eleanor was to take on her screw-up husband's role in the criminal operation after his death, but now maybe Eleanor refuses to cut Armand into the black market auction that I think she is actually running, forcing him to bid on what he wants like a normal rich person. It just seems like Armand used to be a powerful influencer in the criminal underworld, but now his power is waning. When Kate snoops through the kitchen, she hears a caterer say,
"Gary wants you to bring these down right away."
So later when she tells the server that Gary sent her, she wasn't just pulling that name out of her ass, she was actually just smartly listening. They auction off a Triceratops skull that they acquired through, I assume, some shady means. In the Fraction Aha comics, there is a black market auction that goes down, actually attended by Kingpin and several others, all bidding on some incriminating footage of Clint Barton committing murder. Here, the auction is for Clint Barton's Ronin gear and sword from Avengers Endgame that they say was recovered from the wreckage of Avengers Compound. Interesting. So I pointed out in the background of Endgame's final scene, there was a mysterious helicopter airlifting something away from the debris field. I always wondered if there could be corrupt players in that cleanup crew, similar to Adrian Toome's crew harvesting Chitauri tech after the Battle of New York and Homecoming. The auctioneer describes it:
"The Ronin decimated the criminal underworld of this city, almost completely annihilating the status and power of the head of organized crime."
And as the camera runs across the blade, Armand is framed in the background along its edge, perhaps foreshadowing his death via sword. But then this close-up on grumpy Armand on that line suggests he either was himself or was associated with the head of the city's organized crime that Ronin Hawkeye's efforts nearly annihilated. I'm just saying the fact that the MCU is saying that there is at all any one head of organized crime in New York City, to me is a pretty solid clue of Kingpin's existence in this universe, or perhaps now with Armand's death, Kingpin's opportunity to rise. The wall explodes and the podium's like, I think I'll go this way, thanks. And breaking in are the Tracksuit Mafia, in the comics called the Tracksuit Dracula, a bunch of Russian thugs who end every line with bro. And they're led by Kazi, aka the clown, who works with them in the comics, who says,
"We've got 90 seconds to find the watch. Everything else is secondary.
Let's go, bro."
They end up recovering this watch, and it has a red face and gold plating, lot number 268. So Avengers Compound, huh? Well, red and gold are Iron Man's colors. Tony Stark did have some techie watches over the years. The watch he used to store his gauntlet armor in Civil War, and the Quantum Navigator wristbands in Endgame, but this watch looks more decorative. There was that that Bulgari watch that Obadiah Stane gave him in the first Iron Man, the same watch he actually later used to pay for strawberries in Iron Man 2, but this isn't that watch exactly. 268 could be a clue, maybe referring to Iron Man 268 when Tony recounts his origin with Yinsen and the Mandarin, or Avengers 268 in which the Avengers have to deal with Kang. So I just think this watch is gonna end up being valuable either for some important tech they think is stored inside, like quantum tech, access to the quantum realm, and therefore time travel, or it could be of sentimental value to whoever sent the tracksuits. Kate attacks the tracksuit, aiming a gun at Armand and Jack. She has a little moment with Jack.
Hello.
Jack is definitely smarter than he lets on. I'm pretty sure he recognized Kate's eyes there. I love all the use they get out of the wine bottles in this fight. Like Kate punches them through their slots at the guys. She flings bottles out of their hands to club all of them. She stomps a bottle at a guy. See, while Eleanor drinks the wine, Kate weaponizes it. Barton's watched New York Spectrum News 1 with real life host Pat Kiernan, returning after his appearance in the Far From Home post-credit scene. Kiernan, yes, a real life guy, but he is technically the only on-screen MCU persona so far who coexists in the Marvel Netflix shows, because he also showed up in Daredevil, Defenders, and Punisher, but hopefully we're about to see a few more of those crossovers. As Clint sees Kate in her Ronin gear, he flashes back to that Tokyo scene in Avengers Endgame, and in that moment, he was turning to look at Natasha. Right before that cut would happen, we instead cut back to Clint in the present, suggesting that he's probably remembering Natasha in this moment. In her apartment, Kate keeps arrows by her door, meaning she's hitting those ranges every day, bro. In Armand's home, she finds a bowl of his monogrammed butterscotches, which of course she later sees as a smoking gun against Jack, and she finds the slain body of Armand, death by stabbing. Really, these first two episodes point pretty much directly at Jack. I just think him wanting to inherit his money is just a little too obvious of an explanation. It could still be Jack who killed him. I just think there's gonna be some deeper layers to this murder than it seems, and that Eleanor or plenty of other people could have been involved. As Kate runs away, there's another longer than usual take, about a half minute, as she runs down the street, has the headlights hit her, runs into the tracksuits, and then tries to flee down another street before getting cut off. Kind of bookends with the opening long take of young Kate, putting her back in that panicked headspace. Now the tracksuits punch the car window glass with their bare fists. Now I'm sure there are some psychos who are aggro enough to actually do that. It just to me reads like the move of someone who's juiced up on something, maybe a microdose of that super soldier serum that the power broker was brewing in Madripoor. But Clint takes care of him and officially meets Kate.
Come on!
You're a Hawkeye.
And who the hell are you?
Yeah, that horn theme is the same music Kate heard as a girl when she first saw Hawkeye's big move in the Battle of New York. To her, he is the gritty reality of a hero that she dreamed of meeting, but to him, she is just another cosplaying Avenger wannabe that he's gonna learn is gonna help him so much to get to know better. To support this channel, check out our great merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars. Subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis and breakdowns of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.